Elisa Lam arrived at the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles on January 26, 2013. A 21-year-old Canadian student traveling alone, she checked in without incident, requesting a single room on one of the upper floors. She maintained a low profile, spending days sightseeing at Griffith Observatory, photographing the Hollywood sign, and sampling local cafes. On the evening of January 30th, she asked the front desk about water temperature. Staff noted she seemed anxious but otherwise healthy. On January 31st, guests began reporting a metallic taste in their tap water and discolored residue in the showers. Maintenance staff measured the levels in the rooftop cisterns and found one tank alarmingly low, so depleted that only someone climbing inside could have caused it. Early on February 1st, workers opened the cistern's access hatch and discovered Elisa's body floating in the murky water, her clothes and personal effects, shoes, backpack, camera, drifting nearby. There were no visible signs of violence or struggle. Investigators reviewed the hotel's extensive CCTV network and released a 10-second elevator clip recorded January 31st. In it, Elisa enters the car, glances around, and presses multiple floor buttons. The doors remain open. She steps in and out, hesitates in a dark corner, raises one hand, and then steps back as the doors close on her. The elevator never moves to another floor in the clip. Once uploaded to YouTube by the Los Angeles Police Department, the footage went viral, amassing millions of views as armchair detectives dissected every frame. Online commentators proposed countless theories. Some suggested a mechanical fault left the doors ajar. Others speculated roof workers had slipped into the elevator unseen. Many linked her erratic behavior to her documented bipolar disorder, theorizing a psychotic episode. Some pointed to the 2005 horror film Dark Water, in which supernatural forces contaminate a building's water supply. Conspiracy forums wove in claims of ghostly apparitions and secret cult activity, while skeptics accused theorists of digital sensationalism. The coroner's office conducted a thorough autopsy, psychiatric review, and toxicology screen. Elisa had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder but was not under treatment at the time, and no alcohol or illicit substances were detected. The medical examiner ruled her death an accidental drowning, likely occurring during a psychotic episode in which she sought refuge on the rooftop. Hotel staff interviews and maintenance logs revealed no unauthorized entries or procedural lapses. The cistern hatch was found locked from the inside. Despite the official conclusion, public fascination persisted. Reddit threads and social media groups sprang up, each dissecting minute details. Why was Elisa barefoot despite the cold rooftop tiles? Was the lighting in the elevator too bright to be late at night? Travel blogs and horror podcasts revisited the case repeatedly, layering fresh narration onto the mystery rather than resolving it. Merchandise featuring Elisa's image appeared in obscure online marketplaces, and guided haunted tours of the Cecil Hotel became a niche tourist draw. By mid-2013, hotel management announced plans to renovate the Cecil into low-income housing, hoping to shed its grim reputation. Yet, even as headlines moved on, the elevator video continued to circulate. YouTube compilations crossed tens of millions of views, and documentary filmmakers incorporated the footage into productions about the internet's darker impulses. Today, Elisa Lam's case stands as a paradigmatic example of how a single piece of digital evidence can transform an isolated tragedy into a global phenomenon. What remains are unanswered questions and a cautionary tale about collective obsession. The speed and reach of online speculation turned a missing person inquiry into an enduring mystery, one that resounds in the echo chambers of cyberspace long after the water in the cistern has gone silent. Philip Markoff was a 25-year-old medical student at Boston University when, in the spring of 2009, his life unraveled under the weight of the digital traces he left behind. In early March, Markoff began advertising massage services in the erotic services section of Craigslist, arranging late-night appointments with women in Boston hotels. Unbeknownst to his clients, these encounters were a cover for armed robberies and, in one tragic case, murder. On March 31st, a woman arrived at the W Boston Hotel for an appointment. Surveillance cameras captured a man in a hoodie entering her room, producing a handgun and demanding money. He bound her wrists and ankles with duct tape, rifled through her belongings, then fled with cash and the victim's cell phone. The victim escaped unharmed but terrified, and her call to 911 set detectives on alert. 5 days later, on April 5th, a second robbery unfolded at the Charles River Inn. This time, the perpetrator forced the woman into the bathroom, tied her up, and again, stole cash and her phone. Hotel security footage showed the suspect tapping codes into the elevator panel and glancing at the digital floor display as if confirming his route. Detectives noted similarities in the assailant's method. Both victims described a confident, calmly spoken young man, and began tracing activity on Craigslist back to its source. Then, on April 14th, the violence escalated to murder. 26-year-old Jalissa Brisman, a social media marketing executive from New York City, checked into the Copley Marriott shortly before midnight for what she believed would be a routine appointment. Surveillance video captured a man in dark clothing entering her room around 12:45 a.m. The following morning, housekeepers found her body bound with duct tape, her wrists restrained, and her throat slit. Her belongings lay scattered, and the murder weapon was never recovered on site. Investigators quickly homed in on Philip Markoff through a combination of digital forensics. They subpoenaed Craigslist for account information, which yielded 2 email addresses linked to postings for massage services. Email header analysis showed the messages originated from Markoff's BU dormitory network. Cell tower records placed his mobile phone near each crime scene at the relevant times. Moreover, his laptop's IP address matched the one used to post the Craigslist ads. With each new piece of data, the net tightened. On April 20th, state troopers and U.S. Marshals apprehended Markoff as he and his fiancée were en route to Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. He surrendered without incident. At his apartment, police found duct tape rolls, latex gloves, wrist restraints, and a 9mm handgun matching the description of the weapon used in the Brisman murder. Perhaps most disturbing, officers discovered a medical textbook containing dozens of women's undergarments, souvenir panties, prosecutors later alleged, each carefully placed between pages like macabre bookmarks. Markoff was charged with first-degree murder, armed robbery, and other related counts. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. Psychiatrists testified that he exhibited signs of depression and anxiety, but his defense never disputed the overwhelming forensic and digital evidence. Prosecutors described how Markoff had manipulated what he believed to be an anonymous online marketplace to cloak his crimes, and how every click and keystroke ultimately sealed his fate. Awaiting trial in the Middlesex County Jail, Markoff was found unresponsive in his cell on August 12, 2010. He had died by suicide. In the end, it was not an eyewitness or a fingerprint that brought him down. It was the digital footprint he thought untraceable. Craigslist logs, email headers, cell tower pings, and hotel surveillance created an unbroken chain of evidence. His story stands as a stark reminder that in the internet age, every online action can leave a permanent, prosecutable mark. On a summer afternoon in June 2020, 5 teenagers from Seattle arrived at Alki Beach, cameras ready and guided by a location-based scavenger app. Hoping to film an adventurous TikTok clip, they followed coordinates to a rocky stretch near the water's edge. There, half buried in sand and seaweed, lay a battered vintage suitcase with corroded brass latches. They lifted it, and noting its heavy weight and foul odor, exchanged uneasy glances. With trembling hands, one of them released the latches. The lid creaked open. Inside were dismembered human remains. The teens backed away in horror. One of them ended the recording and called 911. Within minutes, Seattle Police Department officers arrived. After sealing off the area, they discovered a second suitcase washed up about 50 yards east. Forensic investigators, donning protective gear, opened that case as well. It contained further human remains, similarly disarticulated. Both cases were transported to the King County Medical Examiner's office for analysis. Over the following 24 hours, forensic specialists identified the victims. Fingerprint comparison and dental records confirmed them as 35-year-old Jessica Lewis and 27-year-old Austin Wenner, both reported missing by family members approximately 2 weeks earlier. Lewis and Wenner had rented a suburban residence in Seattle's Beacon Hill neighborhood from a man named Michael Dudley. Detectives interviewed Lewis and Wenner's contacts and neighbors near Dudley's property. Several witnesses recalled an unmarked black SUV parked outside at night, around the time the couple vanished. Neighbors described unfamiliar late-night activity at the house. Investigators used these accounts to obtain a search warrant for Dudley's home. On June 20th, law enforcement entered the Beacon Hill house. In a detached garage, officers found blood-stained tools and plastic sheeting. In a locked bedroom closet, they recovered personal items belonging to both victims. Michael Dudley was arrested there without resistance and charged with 2 counts of murder, mutilation of human remains, and related offenses. Meanwhile, the original TikTok video filmed by the teens went viral. The brief clip depicting the suitcase's contents was shared millions of times across social media platforms. News outlets incorporated the footage into their coverage. Online discussions debated the teens' decision to film and criticized the graphic content. Some praised their prompt alert to authorities and their refusal to delete the recording, which became crucial evidence. In August 2020, the King County prosecuting attorney formally indicted Dudley on the murder charges. During pretrial hearings, forensic pathologists testified that Lewis and Wenner had likely been killed several days before, their remains washed ashore. Dudley entered a plea of not guilty. His trial was set for early 2021. Public attention to Alki Beach intensified after the incident. Tourists were warned about the gruesome discovery. True crime podcasts and documentaries produced episodes examining the teen's video and Dudley's motive, reportedly a conflict over rent payments. Despite the horror of the case, the viral TikTok footage remained the most enduring record. A stark illustration of how a casual online adventure can unexpectedly reveal real-world atrocities. Michael Dudley's trial concluded in April 2021, with a jury verdict finding him guilty on all counts, and he received multiple life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring that the gravity of his crimes would be reflected in his punishment. The case remains a cautionary tale.